King Red Diamonds, and I'm back for another Neo 2 video. Today in this video, we're going to be discussing the differences between purity and corruption. We're going to see which one is better, which one is good, which one isn't, or basically which one should you use and which one should you prioritize over the other. But before we get into it, I ask that you guys please like, comment, and subscribe. It's going to help me out so much. My channel's been growing a lot, so I appreciate you all for rocking with me and giving me all your support. So thank you so much, and we're gonna get right into it. So, purity and corruption. Now, these are two status effects in the game that are widely used and probably the most two used status effects in the game. Um, not many people focus their builds around saturation, scorched, electrified, poison, paralysis, all that stuff. Mainly people run purity and corruption. So a big question in the community is always which one is better, purity or corruption. Now, I won't say that either one is better per se than the other. The reason being is because they're both used for different situations. Now, if I was to recommend one to use, I would recommend purity simply because of ease of use. Now, like again, don't think I'm saying that purity is better. Yes, purity has, good effects and like good benefits, but corruption does as well. It all depends on which situation you are using them in. For example, purity is way better against yokai than it is against human enemies. And vice versa, corruption is better against human enemies than it is against yokai. Now, that's not to say that they don't work on each other. They do. You can definitely get yokai. You can definitely inflict yokai with with corruption, and you can definitely inflict humans with purity. Both elements work on both enemies, but certain benefits and certain um, you know play styles work better for purity against yokai and corruption against humans. Another reason why it works that way is because you can get purity up on a on a yokai faster than you can get it up on a human, and then you can get corruption up faster on a human enemy than you can on a yokai enemy. Um, Another reason why I would say purity is a recommendation for me is because purity has a talisman. You can equip a purity talisman through magic, and you don't even have to roll imbue purity on your weapon, as opposed to corruption where you either have to luck up and get a weapon to drop with corruption on it, or get a certain weapon that already comes with corruption imbued on it to drop its smithing text so that you can forge it. Corruption can't be rolled. Corruption and purity cannot be rolled or tempered onto your weapons. So that is one thing that you have to take into account as well when thinking about whether you want to run purity or corruption. All right. Again, you do not have to roll purity on your weapon. You don't have to have it on your weapon. There's a purity talisman that you can use to get purity on the enemy. You don't have to have it. That's why I recommend purity, because it's easier to use rather than corruption, where you have to have luck in order to get a weapon to drop with corruption on it. Okay, so diving into what they do, as you can see, a purity-based element effect. The afflicted loses corruption and takes increased key damage. Additionally, status enhancements cannot be gained while under this effect. Now, it doesn't state another certain effect that purity has, and that is whenever you're guarding with a purity weapon, you are able to key pulse in the middle of your guard. Okay, there's no other weapon or a status effect that will allow you to do that other than purity. So if you're guarding and someone hits your guard with their weapon or their attack, you can key post in the middle of guarding and continue to guard while gaining back the key that you lost when you're guarding. When you have a corrupted weapon, you cannot do that. But if we go down to corruption, a corruption-based element effect, the afflicted loses purity and takes increased key damage, the same as purity. They both do increase key damage, and then the opponent will absorb the key loss through this effect, meaning that when you're attacking your enemy, you will gain the key that they lost to yourself. Um, and then the next one says if a yokai is afflicted, then in addition to the listed effects, their maximum key potential will also be decreased. Meaning that when you're fighting a yokai and you get corruption up on a yokai, and they summon their yokai pool and they, gain their ki back, they will not gain back a full bar of ki. It will be pretty much like a percentage of that ki will be gone. So meaning that they cannot get a full bar of ki back. They'll be like maybe halved, or maybe it'll be like 30% of it, not 30% of it gone or something like that. So when you inflict a yokai with corruption, you do absorb its ki. That's one thing that corruption has over purity. If you use a corruption weapon against a yokai, you can absorb its ki, rather than if you use purity, you're just pretty much preventing it from, buffing itself, and you're just doing increased ki damage. Now, you may think, oh, well, corruption seems like it's better for yokai. That's not truly the case. The reason being is because in order for you to even get that effect in order for you to even get that effect to, play, you have to actually get corruption on the yokai. And again, it's a lot more difficult to get corruption up on the yokai rather than purity. Another thing that makes the yokai weapons and like corrupted weapons different from purified weapons is that corrupted weapons have what is known as sentience, and I'll go over to show you what that is. So here you can see this corrupted weapon has sentience underneath its familiarity. The sentience is a gauge basically that fills up as you fight. So once it fills up to max, your weapon will gain sentience and it will gain like a little purple glow. And that means basically now it'll be a lot easier for you to get that corruption effect up on an enemy. But this gauge fills up pretty slowly. And then it doesn't last long unless you do certain things to your character to make it last longer. There's also stuff you can do to make your sentience go up faster, such as adding sentience charge to like your gear and all that stuff. But that is like super RNG. You can't roll it on any weapons or gear and stuff. It has to drop randomly throughout your missions and stuff. So like again, it's a lot of technicalities that come with running a corrupted weapon rather than running a purified weapon where I don't even have to have the purity on it. I can literally just have a random weapon, no imbue purity. It can have like other status effects and stuff on it, and I can just run a purity talisman and it automatically get purity up on the enemy, no problem. So again, there are differences between the two. Both of them are really good. They just work in different situations. Now, there is something that was stated a while back, but I think it's been tested that when a corrupted weapon actually gains sentience, it's supposed to gain like a 20% extra damage boost. I'm not sure that actually applies. A lot of the time, a lot of people I've seen, like they've tested out like what is the difference, or like what is the extra damage that you get from a sentient, like a corrupted weapon when it has gained sentience. And a lot of people have said that it doesn't really change anything outside of just getting corruption up on an enemy much faster. But then again, there's also people who say that it gives you a 20% damage boost. Now if you want me to test that myself, I will, but for the sake of video, I'm not testing it in the video. But if you do want me to test that, then I will. Just let me know in the comment section and I'll get to that. But again, with a corrupted weapon, sentience is very important. You want to get that up as quickly as possible because it'll help you get your corruption up on an enemy much quicker. Again, that's another thing that kind of tilts me into the purity realm because it's easier to use. All right. Now, a lot of the time you'll probably see a lot of corrupted weapons that may have better stats than said purified weapon, but that's strictly because of the base stats of that weapon in itself. As you can see, this weapon has an A+ in heart, a D in strength, and a D+ in skill, while this weapon has a D+ in strength and a D+ in skill, meaning that it'll have a little bit extra more attack. Like as you can see, it has 5+, it has 5 more attack. Like it's not a major difference, but it does, like your stats do matter. So again, it's just all personal preference. It's all about the situation you're using it in. If you look at the stats on these right here, you can see that certain stats are different, as in they have the exact same special effects. They both have melee damage, melee ki damage, and melee ki consumption. Literally both of them have the same exact thing, but certain stats are more than others. So for example, this one has melee ki damage plus 8.9, while this one has melee ki damage plus 5.9. So you're not going to end up with the same exact stats on weapons. It's just honestly impossible. Like, especially because all the weapons pretty much have different base attacks, different scaling stats, and all that stuff. So don't think too much about this saying, oh well, the corruption weapon has a higher attack. That really doesn't mean much. It's all about the status effects that the weapon applies. That's what makes the weapon. If the weapon can apply its status effect quicker and easier, that means it's a very good weapon. It will be better to it's better for you to apply a status effect quicker rather than having a higher damage output. The reason why is because once you get that status effect up, then you're automatically going to output more damage. But if I get my purity up quicker than I get the corruption up, then I'm going to be putting out more damage with my purity weapon rather than my corruption weapon, no matter if the stats are higher or not. So again, between the two, I would say I recommend purity over corruption, strictly because purity is a lot easier to use. That's it. Um, the one thing I do say that corruption has over purity is its use, like its mechanics, like with the way it functions, basically. So again, with purity, you can keep close while blocking, and you do increase key damage, and you also prevent enemies from buffing themselves. But yokai don't really buff themselves, and humans do. So that's one thing that you take into account. With corrupted weapons, it's a lot that the window for key posting is a lot bigger. So if you're fighting with a corrupted weapon and you have to key post after you do a certain attack, the window, like the time and the window for you to actually key post is a lot bigger than with purity. With purity, it kind of takes a little bit more precision when you're key posting rather than with corruption. Since you're absorbing all that key back that you're taking from the enemy, it's a lot easier to key post and to continue combos. So again, there's pluses and minuses to both. So in conclusion, I would say that neither one is better than the other. They both serve a different purpose. It's just that purity, in my opinion, is easier to use rather than corruption. Okay? That's pretty much the argument right there. Purity is easier to use than corruption. Straight up like that. So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. If you have any input on it, again, let me know your thoughts. Put in the comment section. This is a pretty short one, but it's something that, a lot of people wanted to discuss and wanted to know about. So I hope you enjoyed. Thank you all so much. It's King Ray Diamonds. I'm out of here, guys.